Let's take a moment to stay seated and greet each other in worthy recognition. Namaste, y'all. Good morning. I'm Janice Cannon, your worship associate for this morning, and we welcome you for visiting, not visiting, but lots of members too, the Unitarian Universalists of Transylvania County. We're an open, welcoming congregation, and if you are new to us today, please stay for the coffee hour afterwards so you can get to know us some. I have a couple of announcements. At 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. today, Juneteenth is still going on at Silverstein Playground, if you'd like to take advantage of that. And I'd also like to announce that Loving Hearts Helping Hands needs some volunteers, and there's a sign-up sheet in the lobby. This morning, I'm going to introduce to you somebody that a lot of us already know. He's been here a long time. Reverend Gene Rowe was ordained to the Unitarian Universalist ministry in 1981 at First Parish Church in Harvard Square, Cambridge. She served churches in Concord, New Hampshire, Little Rock, Arkansas, and Memphis, Tennessee. After she and her husband, Lackey Rowe, retired to Brevard in 2005, she also did monthly contract preaching in Tryon and Franklin, North Carolina. She co-teaches our Spiritual Explorers group and used to be choir director here. Now she sings tenor in the UUTC choir and the Transylvania Choral Society. We're very happy to have her with us today after a long hiatus while she took care of her husband. Let's listen in reverence as we hear our prelude from Michael Jeffrey Stevens.
Good morning. Once upon a time, when I was a minister in Little Rock a very long time ago, I led a class called Building Your Own Theology, and one of the things we did was write our own covenant statements. And this one has stayed with me. It's by a woman named Selma Blackburn. We affirm the life of love, the fellowship of common seekers. We affirm the relationship of all to all. We affirm the validity of the honestly asked question. We honor the striving toward truth and goodness that propels us to find light and congregate where it might be found. We affirm the worth of self, the dignity of humanity. We trespass lovingly where greater ones have lit the path. We affirm the life of love. In this spirit, we light our chalice, symbol of our free faith.
This is our time during this service to light candles in recognition of our joys and sorrows. Today we have a joy for the beautiful flowers here. Love them, it says. Praying for peace in Ukraine, Israel, Gaza, and Iran. And we'll light another candle for those joys and sorrows that are left unspoken, and for those at home who have not participated in this.
Where's mine? The opening words are from Anonymous, but before I read them, I want to give you a report from the UUA General Assembly. Today is the last day. The Assembly passed a resolution condemning the bombing of Iran and also a resolution supporting the right of trans people to be transported to where they can get medical care. This is by Anonymous. In the midst of a world marked by tragedy and beauty, there must be those who bear witness against unnecessary destruction and who, with faith, stand and lead in freedom with grace and power. There must be those who speak honestly and do not avoid seeing what must be seen of sorrow and outrage, or tenderness and wonder. There must be those whose grief troubles the water, while their voices sing and speak refreshed worlds. There must be those whose exuberance rises with lovely energy that articulates earth's joys. In this spirit, we come together to worship. Our opening hymn is number 108, My Life Flows On in Endless Song.
Creation Friends rejoice from far and near. How can I keep from singing to wisdom sound and dungeon love? Our thoughts to them are weakening when friends by shame are undefiled. How can I keep from singing?
Good morning. My name is Kevin Lausch, and I work with the kids and youth here at UUTC. And our words of wisdom for today is the book, Who I Am, Words I Tell Myself by Susan Verde and Peter H. Reynolds. And it's in a series of I Am books, including I Am Peace, I Am Love, I Am Courage. It's a great series to check out. And it's just about how every single one of you are worthy. And we sometimes have to remind ourselves of that, who I am. Sorry, I skipped a page. Sometimes when I find myself struggling or feeling down or discouraged, my mind tells me words that are not loving or kind. These words can get loud. They can make me think for just a moment, there is something missing in me, something wrong with me. I am those words. But these words are not what's true, are not my potential, my greatness. Instead of believing them, I can pause and breathe deeply and take the time to find my own words that are true. And when I say them to myself, the other voices get quiet, and I hear only me, taking care of me, loving me. It's with these words that I'm describing the real me. And with these words, I know who I am. When these feelings of sadness and anger and worry, my mind might tell me, I'm wrong to have these feelings, but I can tell myself, I am human. I'm allowed to feel. I'm supposed to feel. My mind might tell me, don't share these worries, but I can tell myself, everyone has worries, and they're okay to talk about. My mind might tell me, I'll always feel this way, but I can tell myself, this feeling will pass, nothing is forever. My mind might tell me, I shouldn't make a mistake, but I can tell myself, I'm always learning, mistakes are how I grow. My mind might tell me, I failed, but I can tell myself, I am brave, I have courage to try. There is no such thing as failure. I just haven't gotten there yet. My mind might tell me I can't, but I can tell myself, yes, I can. When the unkind voice gets loud and I feel down, I can tell myself, I am enough. In this world, I matter. I can tell myself, I am unique. This is what makes me beautiful and miraculous. I tell myself, I'm thoughtfulness, my heart is full of compassion. I can tell myself, I am kindness, I make a difference. I can silence the voice that is not truth, anywhere, anytime. When I speak to myself with encouragement and love, these are the words that are the real me. This is who I am. All of us can choose the words we tell ourselves. We can pick the ones that remind us of our own goodness, of our effort, of our importance. These are the words that are the real us, and we use them. We know this is who we are. These are the many wonderful things you can say about you. Now, try in creating your own positive affirmations. And I'm going to read the words, who I am, and then in your minds, either quietly or aloud, you're welcome to say out who you think you are that is positive and warm and affirming to yourself. Who I am is peace. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Kevin. In the very olden days, back in New England, the Congregational Church, of which we broke away 200 years ago, the American Unitarian Association is celebrating its 200th birthday this year. And back in the day, before we broke away from the Puritan Congregationalists, they were state churches, supported by taxes. And so when the Unitarians and other Baptists broke away, they did so partly because they did not feel that churches should be supported by taxes. So we are a free church, but it does cost money to run it. The morning offering will now be given and received. Thank you, Gypsy. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, everyone, for helping to keep this place running. Let us enter into a time of prayer and meditation. O Spirit of life, O God, we do not know what you are, nor what to call you, nor whether to call you you. We say you or thou because that is the language of encounter. And we encounter something or you in the real moments when we feel awe, in the real meeting of another person, in a sunset or ice glistening on trees, in the deep moments of finding our inner selves, in a child's wonder-filled eyes, in radiant, fleeting times of peacefulness which passes all understanding, in the flash of creativity or discovery, in the voice of conscience, the pull of justice. But we do not know that it is you we have encountered, for we have doubts as strong as we have yearnings. We are human. We seek to know what we think we know, and we rarely do. But on the chance that it is you we encounter in those many ways, we say simply, thank you for all the blessings. Thank you for peace. Please take a moment in silent meditation.
There we go. We're going to miss RK. Before we sing, I want to make an introduction. You may have noticed a different set of fingers at the piano this morning. Michael Jeffrey Stevens is going to be with us for a few Sundays this summer. And he drives down from Black Mountain, if you can believe it, just to play with us. Michael Jeffrey Stevens has an amazing 3-page resume of what he's done with his trio, with his quartet, with other bands all over the United States, recording in Europe, and I don't know where else in the world. But he is an amazing artist, particularly in the jazz world. But he is coming down to our level to play with us. You may have noticed how he played Bach with the offertory. A lot of Bach, a little Michael in there too. But Michael, we're so happy to have you with us. We're going to sing a spiritual for you, Little Lamb, Little Lamb, Little Innocent Lamb, which was recorded, transcribed 99 years ago here in North Carolina. Little Innocent Lamb.
Little lamb, little innocent lamb, I'm gonna serve God till I die. Little lamb, little innocent lamb, I'm gonna serve God till I die. Hypocrite, hypocrite, tell you what to do. I'm gonna serve God till I die. He'll talk about Just take one brick from Satan's wall. I'm gonna serve God till I die. Satan's wall gonna tumble and fall. I'm gonna serve God till I die. Little lamb, little innocent lamb. I'm gonna serve God till I die. Little lamb, little innocent lamb. I'm gonna serve God till I die. 'Cause there ain't no dying over there. No dying over in the heavenly land. In the heavenly land. In the heavenly land. No dying over. There ain't no dying over in the heavenly. In the heavenly land. There'll be joy.
My reading this morning is from Rainn Wilson, Soul Boom. About 10,000 years ago, the current mythology of humans on planet Earth began to play out. Nomadic groups, village and cave dwellers began to form civilizations that started separating from one another. We saw only differences between tribes and races. Then came remoteness and epochs of never-ending conflict. At its center, this is the concept of duality. There is a thing and another thing, and they are separate and different. The way the entire world works has been built on this illusion of separation for millennia. Much of humanity living in this way for eons has created a dualistic global culture, mind versus body, civilization versus nature, spiritual versus material, us versus them, apart. In recent years, we've noticed a shift. As we've matured as a species and our technology has advanced, this myth of separateness has begun to transform. The world has become profoundly smaller with the advent of our modern age of cultural globalization, the telegraph, the steamship, the railroad, the airplane, the car, and eventually the internet. This interconnectedness became blindingly apparent when a virus that started in rural China swept through the world. But we are one human family, regardless of race or nation or class, sharing a rock in space. As the Lakotas say, all my relations. This realization awakening is a crucial step along the path toward the inevitable maturation of our species. There's a whole new story to tell. One of my all-time favorite childhood jokes is about a Buddhist ordering a hot dog. He says to the vendor, "Make me one with everything." I retired from active ministry in 2005 when we moved here, although I did continue to preach in Tryon and Franklin. So I kept my hand in for a while. Later, I and 5 other retired ministers here, including Earl, raise your hand, Earl, and Ben Potter. I know you're here, Ben. And there were several others, all different denominations, but we had retired here. And we used to take turns preaching when the minister was away or retired, or between interims. We did a lot of ministry back then. But more recently, I've not been doing sermons anywhere. Instead, I've been taking care of my husband, Blackie, as Alzheimer's took him farther and farther into disability, and finally, last December, his death. Another thing I've been doing is co-leading a study group here with Earl Rabb and Carol Flake. Earl, back in I don't even know what year. Do you know what year? About 2010. Invited me to co-teach a group for people who were just learning how to be Unitarian Universalists. We had a lot of new members who had been in Christian churches all their lives and didn't want to give up their love of Jesus and the principles and values they shared. So we started a study group called Christians in Exile. We didn't make up that name. Later, we named it Spiritual Explorers, but it's still going all these years later. We have about 25 people who come every week. Raise your hand if you're one of them. Good group. Earl is a very good Jesus scholar and has written several books about the early years of Christianity and the teachings of Jesus. Later, we turned to other authors like Marcus Borg, several Unitarian authors, a really good study of Karen Armstrong's book, 12 Steps to a Compassionate Life. And in the last couple of years, we've read several books on white Christian supremacy and also several on Celtic spirituality. What I learned is that Celtic spirituality has much in common with Emerson, Thoreau, and the Transcendentalists who were among the early Unitarians in America. And Celtic spirituality has a lot in common with Native American spirituality. What I mean by this is that all of these have a concept of the divine living through nature and the interrelatedness of all things. More recently, we read a book by a comedian named Rainn Wilson. You might remember him from the comedy TV show The Office. His character was a nerdy guy named Dwight Schrute. Now, Rainn Wilson has a podcast in which he interviews various religious or spiritual folks like Anne Lamott and Nadia Bolz-Weber. And he's written several books on spiritual matters. He's a very good, very readable author. The book we read and his podcast have the same title, Soul Boom. You can find the podcast on YouTube, and the book is immensely readable. What he means by the term soul boom is a spiritual revolution. Boom, revolution. He reminds us that we have a lot of pandemics going on. He lists them. The first is what he calls death of despair. Death from drug or alcohol addiction, suicide, anxiety, and depression, and loneliness. And it's young people who are feeling it the worst. Teen suicides are up, and loneliness, often caused by too much social media, is rampant. Wilson says, the bottom line is that young people are suffering greatly. They seem to be lacking in the tools, skills, and ability to find solution to these difficult issues, to befriend, to bond, to connect, to self-soothe, to find joy, to create community. They are seemingly cut off from what nourishes them, suffering from diseases of despair, and oftentimes feeling there's no way out. The second pandemic he lists is racism. Wherever you go in countries around the world, racism is there with its markers of contempt, distrust, and arrogance, as well as the resulting injustice and anguish that it inevitably causes for those it disenfranchises. The core of racism is otherness. And that is what I was bringing out in the reading from Rainn Wilson. And this is a quote. I really like this quote. Our tribe, which has curly hair and big feet and lives in this cave, is far better than the tribe that has straight hair and little feet and lives in that cave. Our people in this valley are way better than the idiots who live in that other valley. Our skin color and the way we make our clubs is far superior. So let's conquer them, rob them, and take them as slaves. Did you know, I just learned that this last year, that during the era of European exploration and colonialism, the Pope declared the doctrine of dominionism, also known as the doctrine of discovery. It was a series of papal bulls in the 15th century that authorized European colonial powers to seize land and subjugate indigenous people. They referred to them as soulless people. In other words, they said that non-Christian lands and peoples could be colonized and taken control of by Christian powers. The Vatican has now renounced this claim. When? 2023. No wonder white supremacy is still alive and well, especially in the USA. The third pandemic is sexism. Despite progress and some help from the Me Too movement, women around the world continue to be routinely belittled, abused, held back financially, and disempowered. Whether they're being sexually degraded, objectified, or paid less than their male peers, as is the case still in the US, or treated as broodmares without any basic human rights, as in some areas of the world, one thing is certain, says Wilson, discrimination against women is one of the great global evils of our time and times past. The way out, he says, is through education. A fourth pandemic, according to Wilson, is materialism. The tendency to consider material possessions and physical comfort more important than spiritual values. Materialism, accruing stuff, showing it off, stockpiling, gaining power, status, and self-esteem from ownership. Bob Dylan once said, steal a little and they put you in jail. Steal a lot and they make you king or president. Down in our ancient caveman brainstems, there lies a series of deeply embedded synapses that deal in the instincts, fears, and impulses that inspire the amassing of goods. Pleasurable dopamine is released when we feel we have accumulated enough things or afforded ourselves enough comfort and feel safe with all our stuff. When mass public consumerism gained momentum in the 20th century, especially with the rise of advertising on radio and television, ad agencies began their reign. They figured out rather quickly how to stimulate those deep human brain synapses in order to manipulate us into wanting to buy more and more, to convince us that we needed stuff that we had previously been fine without. Recently, I've been finding on my news feed on my cell phone, it's about decorating things. These are passe. You shouldn't have these in your house anymore. You should have these things. And talk about consumerism. Also, Hunter Subaru wants to buy back my used car because they'd like to resell it and make more money, of course. But I'm fine with a 2019. Wilson's hope is that as we develop an understanding of our spiritual reality and seek ever greater levels of community and economy based on sharing, our ancient primal need to amass and obtain at all costs will be replaced with that other primal need to give, lend, sacrifice, and collaborate. Well, the funny thing is, that's exactly what Jesus was teaching his people in the time of Roman dominion over Israel. Jesus taught people to share, lend, give, and help one another to thrive. He called it the kingdom of God because it was sharing. It was helping the dispossessed to band together. That original message of early Christianity was replaced by a fear-based, belief-based religion when Constantine ordered the establishment of an imperial Christianity, which bears very little in common with first and second century Christianity. Pandemic number 5, related to the pandemic of materialism, is the grotesque pandemic of global economic inequality. The statistics are staggering. A symptom of this disease is that the world's 8 richest men currently own as much wealth as the poorest 50% of the world's population, according to Oxfam International. That's almost 4 billion people. The top 3 billionaires own as many financial assets as the poorest 48 countries combined. The haves are getting havier and the have-nots are getting increasingly have-notier. This growth, wealth disparity affects healthcare, education, nutrition, food security, child mortality, and countless other issues that devastate the world's poor. We need for our cultures to reach a spiritually evolved state where a mega-rich multi-billionaire could not sleep at night knowing there was hunger somewhere in the world. They would voluntarily seek to give away their fortunes to improve the lot of the destitute. Instead, they gutted U.S. aid and abandoned the poor. And now they want to gut Medicaid. 2 more pandemics. Number 6 is nationalism and militarism. Yeah. Number 7 is, you guessed it, climate change. You know about the doomsday clock from the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists. It's a symbolic device that measures human-made threats to the planet, and it is regularly summed up with the following question: is humanity safer or at greater risk this year compared to last year? For the year 2022, the doomsday clock was the closest it's ever been to metaphorical midnight, 100 seconds away. The bulletin describes the threat this way: humanity continues to face 2 simultaneous existential dangers, nuclear war and climate change, that are compounded by a threat multiplier, the internet, cyber-enabled information warfare that undercuts society's ability to respond. The international security situation is dire, not just because threats exist, but because world leaders have allowed the international political infrastructure to erode. So, 7 pandemics that threaten life. There you have it, in Rainn Wilson's opinion. I'm sorry to be such a downer. As long as we have a competitive, antagonistic, self-centered way of interacting with each other, we will never be able to overcome any of these toxic, life-threatening pandemics. And this, my friends, is why we need a spiritual revolution, a soul boom, a conversion, a transformation to the bedrock of all religions. This has been around for so long. Love your neighbor as yourself. In Hebrew, tikkun olam, which is repair the broken world. Do not do unto others what you would not have done to yourself. This stuff is not new. We need to learn to honor the other, not tear them down. It is why I called this sermon Namaste, y'all. We need to greet the other as worthy, as possessing a kindred spirit, a divine center, a sacred soul. What if we were to greet everybody we met with a namaste gesture, a visual reminder, a symbol that we honor the other, even if we disagree with them? For the past 15 years, I've been doing Tai Chi. First, Lackey and I were in an ongoing class at the Racket Club. The class never resumed after the pandemic, but I found a group of friends, raise your hands, who meet every Saturday morning and go through Qigong and then Tai Chi, the long form. And do you know what one does at the end of the long form of Tai Chi? Always. We turn to the others and do the Namaste sign. I honor you. The divine in me meets the divine in you. They taught us in seminary that the purpose of sermons is to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. Y'all haven't heard that before? It's been around forever. Well, this is a mega affliction, I'm sorry, but there is a way out. Take time to listen to positive voices, especially Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. Practice kindness, humility, compassion, generosity, mercy, trustworthiness, sincerity, tenderness, wisdom, love, radical compassion. Refuse to give in to fear and despair. Remember, the bad guys never win in the long run. Remind yourself that the stock market doesn't stay down forever. Seek joy. Hang out with people who help and radiate positivity. Live in the present, because now is the only time you have. I say these things because I believe Rainn Wilson is right. We are in a spiritual crisis, and the only way out, the only way through, is to cultivate spiritual virtues. So namaste, y'all. Share it with everyone. Namaste. Our closing hymn is This Little Light of Mine. Let's let it shine. We needed that positive energy. The words of benediction are written by Valerie Kaur, K-A-U-R. Sikh women take the last name Kaur. So if you see K-A-U-R, It is somebody who is Sikh, S-I-K-H. Revolutionary love is a wellspring of care, an awakening to the inherent dignity and beauty of others and the earth, a quieting of the ego, a way of moving through the world in relationship, asking, what is your story? What is at stake? What is my part in your flourishing? Loving others, even our opponents, in this way has the power to sustain political, social, and moral transformation. This is how love changes the world. Amen. So may it be. Namaste, y'all. Thank you. Thank you.